Is this one hot? Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Rooney. I'm the principal here at Attleboro High School, or at least this Attleboro High School for the next 1,321 days, last time I checked. Yeah, but who's counting, right? We are very excited to have all of you join us tonight for this very special joint meeting of the Municipal Council, the Attleboro School Committee, and the School Building Committee. It's been an absolute pleasure for me over the course of these last couple of years to be able to participate in this process. It's something that as both a resident, an employee, and a parent, I'm extremely excited to see how this next chapter in the history of the Attleboro Public Schools is going to unfold. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. Without further ado, I'm going to turn the program over to our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. David Sawyer.
Thank you, Bill. I too would like to thank you all for being here this evening. Difficult time of year to find time, everyone making their final arrangements, so I appreciate that you're here. And I think you're here because this is a really exciting moment, not only for the Attleboro Public Schools, but for the city. This building project not only helped us to avert and get out from under the looming crisis that this building is, but it's also going to help us to provide the 21st century learning environment for our students in Attleboro for generations to come. And I would also say that I truly believe that this project will be a foundation upon which the city's future growth and progress will be made. So this is a great moment, and we're so excited to share with you all the progress we've made on this project. So let's get right to business as quickly as possible. To open up the Municipal Council, next up is President Mark Cooper.
So again, quickly, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for making your schedules work for us tonight. And at this time, at 6:41, I'll call the council to order. Thank you.
Thank you, President Cooper. Again, I will just simply call the school committee meeting to order and turn it over to Mayor Haro to call the school building commission to order as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and following that tradition, I will also open up the school building committee to order, and at 6:42. Craig, turn it over to you.
Thank you. So how's everybody doing? My name is Craig Olson with Castle Booz Associates. We're the project designer, project architect for the new school. I'm sure you've seen us around the school, around the community, as well as just some of our past presentations. As I mentioned, my name's Craig Olson. I'm the project architect for the job. And we're going to just go through a few things, and then we're going to have a little fun after that. So obviously, you have the school building committee who's sitting here, who is a volunteer committee that's worked really hard to work with us to make sure that we provide an appropriate, cost-effective building for the city of Attleboro. And we just wanted to recognize all the people that have put their volunteer time in. And then this is your team that's going to be putting the new school together. So as I mentioned, Castle Booz. We're the architect, and we have a whole umbrella of people working with us. I want to recognize some of the people over there. Brian Soliwoto is the partner in charge. Be looking for him later in the presentation, too. Joe Milani is the project manager. And then Megan and Jim are the job captains that are overseeing the production of the job. And as well as Consigli over here. If you want to stand up and say anything. No, they get a good presentation later on. So as I had mentioned, just between Castle Booz, We've put over 100,000 hours to get us just to this point, and we have another 8 months of design to get through the project, just to kind of capture the amount of time and effort that it takes to put one of these projects together, especially something of this scale, and then in the 21st century, learning the complexity of technologies, et cetera. So, but the most important thing to highlight is the partnership that you've established with the MSBA, the Mass School Building Authority. They're a partnership with you is providing the funding to build this school to be and as part of that, they have the oversight to create it as cost effectively as possible, working with us on a regular basis, talking to us, reviewing our documents to make sure that they're clear and concise. But now we want to kind of talk about what it is to Attleboro. If you see the picture up here, that's what a lot of us went to school. That was how education was. It was someone standing in the front lecturing, similar to how your building is now. Education has evolved a lot, especially over the past 10 years. As technology has grown, so has education. And so this is kind of an example of what a 21st century learning environment is like, where you have a lot of collaborative, peer-to-peer learning, working with technology, problem solving. And so just to keep that in mind as we go through everything, we, Castle Booze, sat down with a select group to conduct some educational visioning very early in the process to understand what the goals for the community are. You can see some of the pictures of the visioning session, as well as some learning ideas that came out of that as bullet points that are important to the community to make sure that we capture the best learning environment, because every school is different, every community is different, and we want to make sure we've designed the school that's right for your community and what your goals are. And of course, the nice looking man up there is Frank Locker, who's an award-winning educational planner that has worked all over the country, all over the world, helping people program and plan their school in the early visioning stages. So we had the privilege of having him here to help us work through the process. So you guys all know this site pretty well, I'm sure. Obviously, Rathburn-Willard Drive is right here, the existing high school, the stadium. And so we bring this up just to kind of give you an idea. If I go back and forth, this is the new site plan of what the school would be like. So you have Rathburn-Willard Drive, a rotary here with a connecting road, so that now Brennan isn't a one-way street, a dead-end street, and we're connecting with that. You have the parking on multiple parts of the building, around the building, a new athletic complex, and an update of the Brennan Fields over here, as well as reworking the front of Rathburn-Willard Drive and all in this area to provide some traffic calming measures to kind of slow people down along there. And I'll get into a little bit more detail as we go along here. But just to kind of give you a reference point, this new building is going to sit right in here. And for a reference point, you can see this stand of trees out here that is existing. We're keeping that stand of trees as existing. We don't want to touch it. We're going to clean it up and make it look nice, but we want to maintain that buffer of the neighborhood of those mature trees that are already existing in there to cut down on any disturbance of the school being when it's built. So as I had mentioned, you got the new rotary, a new road that connects down to Brennan Middle School, and then the Rathburn-Willard Drive with the new high school, and right in the center of here is the new entry. It's not like the pit. It's bright, it's airy, it's very welcoming, and it's a clearly defined entry as we're going through here. The existing stadium, you guys just put a huge capital project together to build that. It's going to stay exactly as it is. It's not in any need. We will be refeeding it as part of the new building and bringing the technology out off the new building, but it's going to remain as it is. And as I mentioned, so parent drop-off would come off Rathburn-Willard Drive through here as a one-way, in and then out. You have the CTE Mall, which we'll talk about in a little bit, has a parking area up here. The student parking will be located down in this area, with staff parking located up here. The new athletic complex, the existing forest line you can see is right there. And then the stadium is to remain. And the bus loop, keeping them separate for safety and just to be able to move people quickly in and out of the site during the peak hours of arrival and dismissal, will come in its own entry, come down and have its own loop separate from everything that can bring it down, kids into the site, which will bring them then into the main cafeteria that we'll review in a little bit as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Johnson from Consigli, who's going to kind of give you a big picture timeline of how the phasing of the project's going to work, how we're actually going to build the building that we're still designing now. So I'll turn it over to Steve. There you go.
Try and do this from here. Hopefully it works out. Just test it real quick. Okay. My name is Steve Johnson. I'm the Senior Project Manager from Consigli. John LaPearl is with me. He's our General Superintendent for the project. Just wanted to give an overview of the rough schedule and the logistics of the site throughout the entire process. So just to get some bearings here, existing school, existing Attleboro High School, Brennan Middle School, Studley over on the left. Then you've got the Highland Country Club across the street, followed by Sweet Forest, Capron Park Zoo, and then we all know Rome Boulevard, Rathbun Willard, and then Rathbun Willard and Bushy Street to the south. So that's the background for every slide that you're going to see moving forward. Craig mentioned where the new school is going to be, so we'll work forward based on this layout. So first thing we're going to do, April 2019, everyone's excited, and we're going to start with road work. But just in general on all of these slides, anything that is kind of that ugly brown color is the site. And then anything that's in red, these dark red lines, hopefully you can see, is fencing to keep the work inside the fence area, if you will. So phase one, April to June 2019, we are starting with some work where we extend, Craig talked about, we extend Rathbun Willard here. We have site utility work. We have some work that we're doing to the baseball field and the new intersection down by Studley Elementary. Any triangle or any diamond shape, the orange diamond shape that you see here is a construction gate. That's, again, to limit access to the site to just the construction workers. So you'll see those throughout the presentation. So our gate at the beginning will be right at the end of Rome Boulevard. As we move along, we start the construction, and then we move on to road work on the existing Rathbun Willard. So that consists of, there's a new rotary that will be constructed at the end of Rome Boulevard, and then there are site utilities that go along Rathbun Willard. There's new water, new sewer, and some gas work. So that work will be in progress, and then we'll move on to, we also have the baseball field work that I was talking about. The varsity baseball team currently plays on this field, and that is going to stay active throughout their entire season for 2019. But once that season ends, they'll need a new home for the future while we're doing construction of the new fields and the new school. So we are going to rework the existing field that is outside the elementary school or the middle school here, and we're going to start that process in this spring as well. And the last thing we're going to be doing is there's an electrical duct bank that we need to run through the site so that we can remove the existing overhead power lines. So that gets us through April to June of 2019. The next phase, June through September, you can see that we expanded the site, the ugly brown color. We've extended the site. We've essentially taken over more of the existing school once school ends. So site fencing is extended, all the red that you see here, and we've added, there we go. We've added 3 construction gates. Now there's a total of 3. Our truck traffic will come down Rome Boulevard and then enter the site here and come out gate C, or come down gate A as they work over on this side. Lot of activity during the summer here. Other work that's going on. We continue the road work and utility work for the Rathbun extension. Then we also move on to continue the work in the road for in the east-west direction for Rathbone Willard. On the actual site where the new building is going to be, we're going to do what we call clearing and grubbing, which is basically just ripping up what's there. We will also move on to, we have some new parking structures, not parking structures, parking lots that we'll have to make for when school comes back into session. That work will be in progress. We will also work on some work in the school and outside the school. There's some existing utilities that need to be relocated, so they're outside the footprint. That work will be going on. We will then work on building a temporary parking lot across the street in the old Highland Country Club lot. That is for construction workers only. We'll build 350 spaces there so that they're not parking on the streets or bothering residents and not taking up valuable space within the building footprint as well. And then we are also creating some interim parking, expanding parking for the high school, for the students, for the faculty, because we're chewing up some of it with the new building. They need some temporary spaces, so over by the Sweet Forest, and then at the south end of the school, we're expanding the parking there as well. So that's a busy summer of 2019. September through December of 2019, essentially at the start of school, it's going to look like this. The gates will stay the same, but the Rotary is now open. It is open for traffic. It'll have some temporary striping, but it'll be open for traffic. It'll be used as a Rotary. Also, we will move on to open up the intersection. Point to that so everyone can see it. This intersection will be opened up right here. Again, we still have temporary fencing, and this section will not be open due to construction, but access will be wide open here just like it has been. We will continue the work at Highland Country Club. That parking lot will continue. Within the building footprint itself, we'll actually start digging and concrete foundations. It'll start to look like a job site. It'll start to look like a building finally. And then as far as getting in and out of the existing school, the parent drop-off, that loop at the front of the school here, still the same. That'll remain open. Oh, there it is. So that'll remain the same, and then also the bus loop here will remain intact. So this parking lot will look different. It'll be bigger, it'll look newer, but the routine of drop-off and getting the buses in and out will look exactly the same as it has been. Then we move on to December through October 2020. The big thing here is that in December of 2019, we're going to start steel erection. And our steel erection will start with the 4-story section that's closest to Rathbone Willard, right here. You'll see a couple of cranes because we'll have a couple of crews in order to expedite and move the schedule along. So that'll continue into 2020. And then in 2020, in the spring of 2020 is when the new baseball field will open up for the varsity to start playing again. So over at the school, that is now open. But again, this stretch of Rathbone Willard will stay within the construction site. You can see all the red fence still. So that's the spring of 2020 for that. And then until October 2020, we will continue with what's called the facade, the outside of the building, the exterior, the shell, the roofing, the curtain wall, all that will continue until June 2020. Oh, let me go back there. So June of 2020, this is what it will look like. And unfortunately, between June 2020 and April 2022, it'll look like this to you. The fence won't change. The outside of the building won't really change except for landscaping. We'll be doing interior work for a couple of years. And this is the point where you say, what the hell's taking them so long? But unfortunately, this is just based on the size of the school and duration, this is what we're projecting right now. April 2022, or close to the end of the academic year, fence comes down. It actually looks like a real school now. Parking lots, some of the newer parking lots are starting to come into shape. And our fence is gone, but relocated. We're gonna have to move it over as we start the demolition process of the existing school. So we'll have new gates A and B there to access that work. The existing school will stay open from April to the end of the academic calendar. And then portion of the new school, the athletic department of the new school will open up because we need to start the blue demolition that you see there of the existing gym, pool, and athletic department. So they're gonna need a place to go temporarily. Our goal right now is to have them move into the new building while we demo their existing space. Then June 2022, June through September, or that summer, we get ready for the opening of the school to the entire school population in that fall there. So the preparation will continue with demo of the existing school to create more room for additional parking that's needed. Right here, if it clicks. So our fence once again moves. We expand to cover the entire existing area of the current school. That allows us to do more demolition and more abatement. And then there's a new parking lot that will be constructed that we need to have open in order for the school to open. That'll allow access to the CTE space. So the September 2022, or the start of school, this is what it will look like. Big difference is the bus route temporarily will come from the south here and go around the brand new bus loop, but parking lots are open. This new parking lot is open. The entire school is open. Everything can be accessed here. The new drop-off will now be up here that Craig described. That is open. Everything's open for business. New school, and we continue demolition on the existing school. There we go. November 2022, it's a lot of just more demolition and preparing for the new fields. Again, the existing school, or the new school looks the same. There's some new parking lots that are opened up, again, for the new space, but the workspace is basically just, again, what will be behind the fence for another year and a half of taking the building down, building new fields. It won't look very exciting at all. Once we move on to spring of 2023, more space opens up in the new school, landscape kind of kicks in, it looks more finished. The fields will start to take shape. You'll start to see exactly what the new spaces will look like. The tennis courts will be in construction, and we're nearing final completion of the entire project. Goal is November 2023, everything 100% new school, new fields, new parking lot, new roads, final paving of all the streets. Rathburn gets a new coat of paving. The new Rathburn Willard gets paved, all the parking lots, everything's brand new, ready to be used for the next, hopefully, 50 or 100 years. And now Craig is going to show exactly what the inside will look like.
I got so excited, I realized that I got so excited to talk about what we've been doing in the design. I didn't introduce the team from Skanska, your owner's project manager here, Marianne and Anjanette over there. They're basically your representative working to keep us all on the same page, They represent your interests as working part of the team and communicating and making sure that everything gets done on time, on schedule. They're out on the job site every day. They're the eyes and ears of the job when the school is building construction, in addition to Consigli as a construction manager. One thing I did want to highlight, as Steve mentioned, is November 23rd, everything's going to look really nice. Athletic fields, they're going to look pretty, but you can't play on them just yet. You got to let the roots establish and everything, so it takes a little bit of time. So probably not until the spring of 2024 will you really be able to play on those fields. They'll just be watching grass grow. So to bring you inside a little bit of the building, we have a floor plan up here, and I'm just going to use it for reference because, as Steve mentioned, we're actually going to do a little animation walkthrough of the building later tonight. But as I mentioned, the main entry is right in the middle with the cafeteria as this main organizing spine of the building. Part of the problem with the existing building is it's a maze to get through. You can easily get lost in it. So we've organized the building in a very simple manner, that you have this main spine with 2 corridors on each side going off it that are direct and straight for line of sight, safety and security wise, as well as then it allows us opportunities to have windows at the end so that when people are looking up, they can see daylight from a natural wayfinding standpoint. It's a very simple plan that anybody can walk in and understand where they need to be and where they need to go. In addition to that, I mentioned up here is the CTE mall, we're calling it. So there's a lot of current programs as part of your CTE program, the bistro, and then graphic communications, graphic design. What we wanted to do is bring them right to the forefront, and we've created a mall up at the front of the building that will have the restaurant with a culinary program in it. Then there'll be a cosmetology program that'll be part of the new building. And then over here is the graphic design area, and it's all connected off of this one door here. So people will be able to come in to the concourse, we'll call it, of the mall. But then the school still remains secure in the background. The kids would be going through a secure door to enter into the space. So we're still trying to maintain that security while offering a mixing box for the public to come in on a regular basis. We're still working out what the exactly security protocols are for that, but I'm just not going to talk about it tonight. Over on the right side now is central offices. The space that's sitting up here is now going to be in the new building and located on the right with its own entry here. And then the loading dock over here, the kitchen with direct access to the cafeteria. And then back here is the majority of the CTE shops: automotive, metal fabrications, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, carpentry. And we've placed carpentry located right here actually to work off of the auditorium so that there can be some cross collaboration. That's what we're always looking for, is that opportunity to create cross-pollination, cross collaboration between different people, different educators, and really kind of foster that as part of the new building. And that was something that goes back to our original visioning as well. Gymnasium with locker rooms over here. The building, from a setup standpoint, is 4 stories on the front part here, and then 2 stories back here. And we'll see that a little bit more as we go through each plan. So here we are on the 2nd floor. We've broken down the building because of the sheer scale of it into multiple academic houses. So there's 4 academic houses, so they're like having like 4 schools within a school, creating that more intimate learning environment for the students where they can get to really know the teachers. The teachers work with each other and be comfortable with each other. So it makes it so that it's not as daunting of a school. It also helps with traveling between class times. So one of the problems here is it can take you a whole time just to get across the school to your class. So the kids don't have that excuse anymore. As well as then administrative offices. So each house will have its own administrative suite that would have the dean of students for that house, etc. The gymnasium is a 2-story space, art classrooms flanking the cafeteria, and then the auditorium is again a 2-story space. Additional CTE shops up here, computer information, robotics, engineering, dental, and medical assisting are the programs that are going to be in the new school. And then, as I mentioned, then we got to the the area up here, which would be the academic houses remain the same, teacher planning right at the core, of here. And then the science, and what we've set up is this is looking north. So the north side of the building gets that natural diffuse light, so there's going to be no glare in the space, a great learning environment that have that even lighting in it. And to that point, the building is going to be so smart. There's going to be so much passive elements in the building that people don't know even they exist, that's saving energy, that's maintaining the systems. Everything is going to be smart in the building. As an example, there'll be daylight sensors in the classrooms that will be actually measuring the amount of daylight coming into the room and dimming the lights based on that to maintain an even light level throughout the room. But as part of that dimming, it saves on electricity. The HVAC system will actually have CO detectors within the ductwork for each room that actually will measure how much carbon, CO2 detectors, how much carbon dioxide people are breathing. So it can measure how many people are in the space and know how much fresh air is bringing to the space as it recirculates it. So it's a matter of speeding up or slowing down the fans, which again, when it's not occupied or there's only a couple people in the room, there's no reason to have the system running 100%. It can dial itself right back from a technology standpoint. And at the heart of the house is the Library Media Center. It's the place where everything connects from an education. We've placed it here on the 3rd floor. It's a 2-story, 2-floor space that allows that cross connection between all of the houses within the building, going to the, as far as I said, like I mentioned, this is the 3rd and 4th floor. So, and then the science labs, we put on the south side of the building, allowing for the bright light, the southern light, to provide for the plants as part of biology, et cetera. They will all have blackout shades on them, so if a teacher needs to darken the room for experiments, et cetera, they have that ability, but it really brings that natural daylight, basically making each classroom like a greenhouse for learning. So, I don't know if people have seen some of the pictures that have been out there. This is an example of along the main drive. So here's the parent drop-off area. You can see the houses clearly delineated up here. Down here's the CTE mall. And then, as I mentioned, a bright, airy main entry clearly defined upon your approach. And the school, when a school functions, it's not just the way it looks in the daylight. It's also when a lot of activity happens in the night when the lights go out, or when the sun goes down and the lights come on. So what we've done is we've actually created, you can see some of the lighting in the building being on, and you can faintly see here and here. We've placed LEDs in each one of these actually, we'll go here. That is LED lighting that's built into the building. That's all color changing LEDs. So you can light up the building at night to be whatever, we assume it's gonna be blue most of the year. But you can light the building up pink for breast cancer, green for St. Patrick's Day. So it really has a ability to customize a school on a daily basis at night, really building in that blue pride that Attleboro has. So, and you can kind of see them lit up here. So as I mentioned, that was the boring part, let's call it. Now we're going to get into the fun part where we're actually going to start to walk around the building. And let me just bring that screen up real quick. So it's going to be literally like a video game as I walk you around here. So what we've done is part of when we design the building, we're working in 3 dimensions. Everything's designed in 3 dimensions. What that does is help us better understand the building as far as spatially coordinating the different elements, ductwork, steel, making sure that everything will fit in the building. And even as I talked about education, technology and education, it's improved drastically for us as designers too. So our actual model this is the documents that we're building, that Consigli is going to be building from, is we can export it into a video game. And then we can give the ability to walk everybody through. So where we're standing right now is on Rome Boulevard, where it's coming straight down, looking at the rotary straight ahead. And as we walk along here, you can see the rotary is brought in as a traffic calming measure to slow people down going around the corner, so it's just not a straight intersection. That's one of the calming measures. We also see it as then the gateway to Attleboro Public Schools with Brennan, the high school, and Studley. It's all part of this main campus. So we're looking to create an identity with the Rotary as kind of a welcoming. And everybody knows the A. The beautiful thing about the A is it's completely symmetrical. And being a Rotary, you can fly around it, and it's always going to look like an A. Kind of creating that opportunity. As Steve mentioned earlier, we're going to be rebuilding the Brennan fields. Two key factors in doing that is we're moving the baseball field closer to Brennan so that then baseballs aren't flying into the new road, as well as then updating the field to be in a better condition than it is now, and then providing, and as Steve mentioned, providing those fields early so that we're not displacing the kids that are having their athletic high school career and they're not spent most of their time traveling of that. So we can build a multi-use field as well as that baseball field to keep the kids as local as possible during their school year. Here's the Rathburn, the connecting road that goes down to Brennan. And as we make our way around here, you could see, and I'm going to speed up, the neighborhood on the left. And as we go down, I know I'm speeding, but at the entry to the building, as we go across here, here's the entry. And as I bring the sun through, you can start to see we've created this monumental entry here. That I'm trying to bring the light around, sorry. That you can start to see the Attleboro High School sign on the left, on the right, and then on the right, left would be the blue electric LED board for messaging, and we just kind of threw Blue Pride up there as an example. Coming down the main entry into the parent loop, you can start to see how the houses shake up, where you got the two houses on one side, the other two on the opposite side of that main entry. And as we go along, you can start to see I'm bringing the sun around to the front of the building now. Visitor parking lot on the left. And then coming down, if I stop here, you can see the entry to the Blue Pride Mall there going in. So if we went in that door, you'll start to see. Now when you're looking at this building, we're still working through finishes. No finishes have been actually selected for the building. So what we've done is we put some representative colors into the building, just so it doesn't look like a sterile atmosphere. But so when you see the colors, the materials today, nothing is final. It's just kind of to give it an essence of what we're looking at for the building. There you can see the culinary restaurant there. And as we go, we kind of built some spaces, graphic design. The bank will be relocated to the mall as well. And then moving over to here, you got cosmetology and graphic design. So if we went back outside, walk across the landscape, we'll get down into the main entry area. A key thing to see when you're looking at the main entry here is we've elevated that plaza. Now the reason we've done that is crime prevention through environmental design. That acts as a buffer so that people can't drive vehicles up near the building for safety and security standpoint, so that then there's no access to the building in the main entry, and people would drive across here. It steps up to slow down people again near the main entry. And so we've created a natural barrier at the main entry that people don't know, won't even realize exists because we built it into the design. So we're going to go up in the air and fly around like Mary Poppins a little bit, and you can start to see the houses and the symmetrical nature of it. And as we come around the building, you can see early education's coming over with their playground space and an updated new playground. Coming back, you can see automotive is the space that jumps up, and then we're back into the CTE area here with automotive as a drive-through area, and then the other CTE shops. As I mentioned, you have metal fabrications. They all have an overhead door and a side door. And then coming up, we'll go up in the air a little bit. There you can see your existing stadium with a new parking lot. A key thing that you're going to see that I'm focusing on right now is that parking lot's going to be covered with photovoltaic panels. So then we're producing a significant amount of energy naturally that'll be directly associated to the building reducing the draw off of the energy grid. You can see some of the new athletic complex, as Steve showed you earlier, the new baseball field, multi-use field, and then below you can see the bus loop. One thing we look to do with the bus loop is we also thinking about when people come for games at night, what that experience is going to be like. We have this large parking lot that the visitors will be parking in. And as you see, if I go over to here and I step down and you enter in, you have this area here. And so people would migrate through here. What we're doing with this part, your existing archway that sits out near the parking lot out here, we're going to be relocating that, recreating the concept of the gateway to the stadium that you have now. But so it'll be a gateway not only to the stadium now, but also, so here you can go left to the stadium or go right to the cafeteria area with the main entry. And again, what you're seeing again are all trees, creating a natural plaza. Again, crime prevention through environmental design. We're keeping everybody away from the building. And then you can see there's the cafeteria and the big A on the exterior wall. This is all south-facing. There's a sunshade meshing that's going to be there to cut down glare into the cafeteria. And so what we've done is we actually can paint an A onto that mesh that then when people are standing in the stadium at night, looking back, you're going to see a glowing A off of that. Now you can see the Bray Auditorium, the new Bray Auditorium on the right there, and then going over to the left with the gymnasium. So we're just going to fly over the top of the cafeteria now. And then we're going to drop down and we're going to walk inside the building. You can see there the existing stand of trees that we're going to keep in place to maintain that buffer. And I'm going to get myself away from the roof and drop down. Went too far. So as we walk into the building, the main entry's here. Get some light on that entry. You're going to see the mayor's there, us greeting with his dog, and Bill Rooney's there watching over the entry area, making sure that everybody gets into school on time. At this entry area here, we've located obviously the security area that will be reviewing everybody that would be coming in and checking them out visually first from an exterior before they actually let them into the building, as well as then on the left is where we've located the Career Center, which is kind of part of the guidance program. It's going to be tailored for the trades, for people that are college bound, and what we're looking to really do is inspire the kids for life after school and whatever they want to do. So we put that right at the front so that they can see all the opportunities, what will happen after they leave Attleboro High School. As we walk into the secure vestibule, you can see here, there's the security guard watching over everybody coming in. And then, so there would check someone in, they would badge them, and then they would let them through this door, which is also a locked door, to then let them into the main office area here, where then they'd be greeted, and whoever they're coming to visit would be brought down, or if a parent's bringing in someone that forgot their lunch, they would be dropping it off in the main office area there. And then if we came back out into the corridor, you can see, as I mentioned, the Career Center, an opportunity to show the kids, for people to come in and present to the kids about different, whether it's a trade union, whether it's a local college or Harvard or somewhere spectacular. But one thing we've done as we start to think about the building is we want to create a really mature, inspiring building for the kids. It's very warm, welcoming, very open and airy, kind of bridging that gap between high school and college. And really, so you'll see there's some elements that has a really collegiate feel to it as we're looking at the main entry. So coming in, you have the two main stairs on the left and the right, as well as a small seating area on each side. That is the intent of that, is that's where kids can congregate after school. They're right next to the main office, so they won't cause any trouble, and they're easily to be managed that way. Straight ahead, you can see a large LED wall, which Mark Furtado is introducing a few members of the building committee, as well as, but what's nice about this LED board is that It's completely flexible. It becomes a messaging board within the building that you can integrate whatever you want to do. So you could have still photography, you could have the weather on it, you could have a clock on it, you could have video highlights from an athletic event, and it can be put all over the screen, so it can be a multi-purpose screen doing almost anything that you want. One thing I didn't mention, and I'll go back to this area over here, is you can see we've talked with the Historical Society. Rob's been huge in doing this, is the existing clock in the old high school's library, the nice marble clock. Our plan, and as we've talked amongst the group, is to restore that clock and bring it back to the new high school. We can then, as part of the restoration, tie it into the school's clock system so that then the marble clock that has been a part of the history of Attleboro Public Schools comes back to the main office and tells every kid that when they come in that they're late. So coming through, you can see the opening. What we are is we're looking beyond up there to the cafeteria. Again, I was talking about that main simple organizing spine through here. Looking in, you can see the doors, looking down the various hallways. Those doors are there as a security measure that they can lock, so we can partition off the building at night for events so that they don't have, people don't have access where they don't want them to be in the school for safety and security standpoint. And of course, I've also included Brian, the partner in charge, presenting in the TV studio at one of our educational visioning sessions. So, and now we're into the cafeteria here. You can see it's a large, open, airy space, bringing a lot of natural daylight into the space, really becoming the hub of the whole school, of all the programs coming together, and really being an inspiring large space. This space will accommodate the kids through 3 lunches. That's why you see the large size of it. And it's actually, if you put it to give you a perspective, it's the size of 2 basketball courts inside. So if you ever want to have a tournament, you could have a basketball court set up in there. As part of this, we're looking to connect visually the building throughout. I talked about visual connections to the exterior, but there's also visual connections to the interior. You have a monumental stair, as you can see there, that allows kids different opportunities through the building to then sit and have their lunch, work collaboratively after school, during school as part of projects, but it also becomes a main stair to move the large population of the cafeteria up and into the building as part of the academic houses. And if I spun around here, you can also see the Innovation Lab. The Innovation Lab, or Fab Lab, is something that is intended, the location of it is putting it in a high-profile location that becomes a hands-on makerspace. It's an opportunity for that cross-pollination to exist between the CTE shops and the academic core of the building. There's collaboration spaces up in the academic core, but we're really looking for this to be that maker project Fab Lab where the possibilities of what the kids can come up with and build in there could be endless. It's whatever they want to do, from working and being inspired, the peer-to-peer learning, working with their peers, whether they're in the traditional academic program or in the CTE program together. And as part of this main organizing spine, on the right, you can see the gymnasium, and then on the left is the auditorium. We're just going to go up over the cafeteria here and down into the gymnasium, where you can start to see how the gymnasium works out. It's large enough. You have the main court here. You can seat 1,800 people in it. It has the ability, which something your school doesn't have now, to sit the entire student population in one space. The bleachers are motorized retracting bleachers, and when they're retracted, it allows for 2 cross courts you can see. And then there's curtains that are up in the ceiling that can drop down, which then creates 4 different learning spaces as part of the PE program. And that's one of the focuses we've worked on with the school, is having the value from an academic standpoint from the PE program, but then understanding that athletics are an important part of the program too, and finding that healthy balance between making sure we're doing what needs to be done from an athletic standpoint, but also what needs to be done from a physical education standpoint. You're seeing a lot of banners hung in the rafters. We're going to be replicating all the banners that are in your current gymnasium, hanging them similar to the Boston Garden as an example. And then as part of that, we're going to make them expandable for future championships to come as part of Attleboro High School. What you can see up front on the top up there are the fitness rooms. And what we'll do is I'm going to bring you right up here. They're the best seats in the house during a basketball game. So if we came up this stair, that's directly part of the gymnasium. We'll come up, and now we're into the fitness area. So what you're going to see here is, in working with them, we divided the space into two pieces. A weight area, a weight training area, along here with some examples of the equipment, and then across the way, a fitness room. So this is a multi-purpose flexible room. Right now we're just showing spin bikes, a fitness trainer bridge, and you'll see more of that as when the building does occupy. But the beauty of showing the spin bikes is everything can move out, so you can do a yoga in there, you can do aerobics, whatever you want is part of the space. So it's really creating that flexibility within it, but it also has a really nice view over the gymnasium, looking down over the courts. So as we come across here, I'm going to jump over to the auditorium. The auditorium, as I talked about the partnership with the MSBA, under current educational core standards of the Mass School Building Authority and their participation, they will only let you build an auditorium based on your population and a percentage of your population. So what that means is we're allowed to build an auditorium that can seat 850 people for the city of Attleboro within it. So when we come in, you have a light and sound lock here going through these doors. The auditorium is 2 floors with a balcony as part of it. You walk in, you have a stair that goes directly up to the balcony, or we can come in here and you'll see the lower level with the seating and then the stage up ahead. We're showing the grand piano as an example. And you can, as I turn around, you can start to see how it shakes out. Everything in the building is engineered. I talked about us working everything in 3 dimensions. It's also calculated because we have the 3D models with acoustic engineers to make sure that the auditorium is functioning perfectly from an acoustic standpoint. The intent is to push all the sound out to the audience. So, and I say that because we come and get complaints actually because it's a public space, is if there's a town meeting that would occur in the auditorium, when someone's speaking in the audience, no one can hear them up on the stage because it's pushing the sound right back at them. So that's when you have to use microphones, etc., as part of that. And even from a standpoint is, you can be standing on the stage and almost talk in a regular tone, and it pushes the sound out so much that without a microphone, you could be heard talking in the back of the room, which is part of the whole engineering of our acoustic engineer being part of the project. So coming up through here, you can also access the auditorium from the 2nd level through a light and sound lock here. And we're up to the balcony, looking down over the cafeteria now. Bringing the light in better here, where you can see that large stair. Looking up beyond is looking again into the library as really the heart. So you can see that main spine with the cafeteria and the library, really bringing the organization of the whole building and the whole school together. On each side are the art classrooms with the ability to create galleries to display the work that the students are doing. That's one thing we really noticed as you walk around your existing schools. There's amazing artwork that the kids have created throughout that school. So we wanted to bring that back into the new school and really the opportunity to put that gallery as part of the cafeteria space. On the 2nd floor, up here, is the assistant principal's suite. But then what we're going to do is we're going to pop over into here on the 2nd floor. And now we're going to be walking into the academic houses. And on the 2nd floor, as I mentioned, is collaboration spaces like you see here. It's all flexible furniture. In the new school, there won't be a lecture hall or mini auditorium like you have now, but these are designed to function like that, but they have flexible furniture, so different things can happen from period to period and day to day. So it could be a collaboration for a classroom, which allows you to move the furniture around as far as workstations. There's a large format projector in there, similar again to your mini auditorium, but it really becomes a collaboration space. Each house has one of these within their space. So then in the building, there's 4 main stairs as part of the academic core, 2 at the center, 2 on the perimeter. So it's easily to move, again, simple vertical circulation and simple horizontal circulation throughout the building. As we walk up the stairs, you can see the simple stair tower going up, and now we're up onto the second floor. That's where the elevator is located. It's centrally located. There's 3 elevators in the building, but the main elevator is centrally located near the main office, allowing people to quick access through the building vertically. And now we're coming into the library. You can see the space looking down over the cafeteria there, and it's really the heartbeat of the school and the academic house circulation desk. And you can see we've put an actual the A film on the exterior glass, and you can see the views out looking from there. It's going to create nice northern light, bringing that natural light as far as a place to come and learn in the library. You can see different opportunities with the book stacks. The book stacks start to define the space. They're not those tall book stacks that you're thinking that allows the space to be open, easy supervision of the population within the space, but ability to collaborate in the space. And then we're going to go down into and start to look at what the academic houses will shake up and look like on the 3rd and 4th floor. These become really the centerpiece of the academic houses from a connection standpoint. Each house is exactly the same in their design. When you get to this area, they start to have the collaboration breakout spaces within the corridor. So instead of just being corridors that get used only between the bells, these become a multi-use space that it can allow breakout where teachers can send groups out into the corridor, still supervise them through their door, and they can do multiple group work throughout the classroom and out into the space. As you can see with the flexible furniture that can be moved around and create different groups throughout. And then there's also a vertical connection with the houses. You can see the stair here that allows, again, the kids to move quickly within their individual house. And it also, as I walk up it, has a skylight in it that brings that nice natural light into the heart of the building, into the core of the building, allowing the space to become very bright. So it's not just a corridor like you have now, where there's no light, you're relying just on artificial lighting. Again, it gives a natural wayfinding aspect to it. And as we go down, you can see then teacher planning on the left as a hub of all of this. Core toilet facilities between the houses here for everybody. And then going into the next neighbor house, you have, again, the exact same setup, classrooms on the left, and then science labs on the right. And if I went in here, you could start to see what the science classrooms look like, where they're the modern 21st century classrooms from a science standpoint, very flexible, allowing different experiments to happen, whether it's physics, biology. Fume hoods within the classroom that have glass on 3 sides, so you can actually teach from within the fume hood for safety. Flexible furniture, and it's set up exactly like a regular classroom. One thing to mention is part of the MSBA standards I mentioned, they have a specific guidelines as part of the science lab for safety. Each student within the classroom has 60 net square feet. So what that does is make these rooms be about 1,440 square feet. So if you think about one of these rooms is a typical 3-bedroom house, which allows lots of possibilities within it. And as I mentioned across the way, you can see a typical classroom in here, where you can see flexible furniture that is more of a collaborative type furniture that can be rearranged into different types of groups, allowing peer-to-peer learning to exist, interactive whiteboards within every classroom, storage within the classroom. I told you a little bit about the daylighting. When we do pick the colors and we work through, I'm assuming blue is going to be a color that's going to be selected. But it's all about providing the right color psychologically to really inspire the kids to be energetic, to learn, have a good light reflectance so that the spaces are bright. The exterior, each classroom has one operable window. And the reason we do that is so that you can get some fresh air if you need to. But the building, because it is so smart, measuring the relative humidity, doing all the different things as part of the HVAC system, that you confuse it. The CO2 detectors get confused, the relative humidity, the moisture in the building gets confused. So it's, as we tell a lot of people, it's very different than the school you live in now where you open the windows just because you have no natural ventilation. You're going to have ongoing natural ventilation coming into the school. So the need for actually opening or closing the window isn't there, but we provide the opportunity to do it. Storage, again, within the classroom as well. And as I had mentioned previously, it's all about bringing glass and natural light into the corridors from a natural wayfinding. So the end of every corridor always has a view out to the exterior. And if I came over here, you can start to see this view. It looks over the new athletic complex and down over automotive. So that's a kind of high-level review of the building. We didn't walk through the whole thing because we'd be here all night, but we wanted to show you the direction we're going in based on the tremendous feedback and hard work from the educators, senior administration here at the school in helping us create the perfect school for Attleboro. I believe at this point we're going to turn it over to the superintendent and Bill Rooney if there's any questions anybody has that we can field to help educate everybody.
Thank you, Craig. At this time, we're going to first entertain questions from the municipal council and school committees. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll call on you. You can either come up and ask your question into the microphone. We're being televised, well, not televised, so videotaped, and for people to be able to hear your question when they play this later, we need audio. So you can come up, or if you'd like to stay where you are, we'll just repeat your question for you so that people can hear what it was later on, and then the appropriate person will answer. So at this time, we are open for questions. Please.
So will there be a time where somebody goes over security? What will be in place for security?
So the question is about when we'll be reviewing security.
Right.
Okay.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
So we've already started. We have a security consultant that's part of our team. The building will have video surveillance throughout it, both interior and exterior. There are certain protocols that are being set in place which we wouldn't discuss in a public forum. We'd be happy to talk with you guys in an executive session about that. But we are working and will be continuing to be working to set up the right protocols in place. And from a security, electrical locks, every exterior door is monitored, whether it's open or not. And then, as I mentioned, there's the video cameras that are throughout. So there are security features within the building. We just prefer not to talk about them in a public scenario. Yep.
Well, few people know I'm Ty Waterman. I wanted to ask about the athletic fields a little bit more. Are we learning anything about baseball fields to incorporate anything new into the new baseball field? And also it was mentioned that the grass wouldn't be ready for a while. Now, how will that affect the sports here?
Yeah, so the plan, as Steve had mentioned, is that in the fall, the grass will be going down. Currently, we have budgeted to put sod down and not seed. The athletic fields will all have irrigation in them, but we'll be placing sod down. And what that really means is not because it looks pretty on day one, but if you seed a field, you can't play on it for 3 growing seasons because you need to establish the roots. So that's 3 growing seasons, a year and a half when you think about it. But with sod, it continues to push the roots through the winter with us putting it down in the fall, because even if we put it down in the fall, it would be a year and a half from that fall. And by putting the sod down, it pushes its roots, and you can play on a sod field within 6 weeks, typically. So that's why we're planning it to do it that way, so that as soon as the spring hits, everybody that's full access to the fields.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that part of the question,
So
about the baseball field in particular, is there anything new to it, or are we recreating what we already have?
It'll be a modern work. We've been talking with Mark Hool, the athletic director, and even if I brought you, it's going to be more than you currently have, I will say that, in the sense of bringing you over to the baseball field over here. As part of it, you're going to have the backstop. We're reviewing what type of clay that's going to be put down. Again, it's all irrigated, as well as then you're going to have the dugouts, bleachers, so you can see the backstop. a batting cage, and then 2 bullpens, one on each side of the area. And so you can start to see how it shakes up. So yes, part is to answer your question. Our landscape architects, which are in-house at Castle Booze, actually have it down to a science. Like, so you're gonna have different types of grass on your complex even, depending on how people are gonna be playing on it. So the baseball field will probably have a different type of grass than, for instance, the soccer field.
And, you know, it's going to be designed such that it's not going to have the same drainage problems that our current fields have. So we're really excited about that as well.
So from the April to June timeframe when we're doing road work, how is that going to impact the students during the morning and the afternoon coming and leaving school?
All right, so the question is about the impact of April to June's work on students arriving and dismissing. Correct?
Specifically the road work,
Yeah, the road work.
I don't know if you guys, Steve?
Yeah, so the plan is we will alter, we will have temporary traffic patterns in place, and anytime we're doing road work, we will have police details as well to help with traffic. There might be cones, there might be barrels, there might be a different route this week than the next week, but we will make sure that there are safety measures in place and that there's always access in and out of the school.
will we ever be limiting down to one lane?
There will be times when there will be one lane, but we will try to limit that to during school hours, not before or after when traffic is heaviest.
And communication will go out to families as those patterns change, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah, periodically, that's one of the things we're talking about, what's the best way to communicate that. And once we establish that, yeah, we update phasing weekly, daily if we have to, not an issue.
And just one other layer of that is that we already take traffic concerns into consideration on a daily basis. There are times where when I'm coming to school at 6:15, 6:20 in the morning, 95 North is already a parking lot because of what's going on at the 295 interchange and things like that. So our student support team, the assistant principals, the deans, we communicate with the faculty and staff to let them know that we're going to hold the first bell for a few minutes, or we're going to hold off on taking attendance into the first block of the day. And that would be something that obviously we would be working with the project team to make sure that if there was anything that came up, even that was unexpected, we would make adjustments throughout the morning.
Please.
I wanted to hear more about the classrooms, because I heard that not every teacher is going to get an individual classroom because of reimbursement.
Sure, so the question is about classrooms and specifically teacher utilization.
So as I mentioned also, when you partner with the MSBA, which is a great partnership obviously as part of a funding standpoint, they are very scientific about their approach to the building. They're looking at utilization so that people don't overbuild their schools. So they look at they're looking to get 80% utilization in every space within the school as part of their magic number. So what that means is every teacher won't have a dedicated classroom, and as part of that, so that they'll be moving from classroom to classroom, but in the teacher planning, every teacher will have a desk, every teacher will have a space to call home when they're not in the classroom. How that actually works out is part of the scheduling with Attleboro High School, and they'll work through that, I'm sure, once they get into the building more and understand what's the best use, but we're trying to create it as flexible, but we're limited to how many classrooms we can actually build in the new school.
Other questions?
Great, maybe you can just address and follow up to that. Typical size classroom we have now, the size of the classrooms we will have, the number of students that the MSBA programs us to have, and the flexibility that builds into the program.
So the question's about the difference in classroom sizes and also class sizes as it's factored into that formula.
Yeah, so thanks, Jack. What that means is, so your current classrooms in your current high school are about 750 square feet each. Based on MSBA standards, and they know the idea of collaboration, that they want you to build larger classrooms. So they want less classrooms, but they want them to be larger. And the classrooms in the new school will be 850 square feet, so they'll be 100 square feet larger than your existing classrooms. And the number of that we end up having for the number of classrooms is tied directly into the program student population, which was determined early in the process, even before we were on board. Working with the city, working with the MSBA, where they analyze population, growth, et cetera, to come to a predetermined program number for the school. It slips me what the actual program number is currently. I think it's 1750.
Typical number of students that the MSBA says should be in that 850 square foot classroom, as I understand it, is 24, is that correct?
Correct. Again, trying to create those flexible classrooms that you can move throughout.
So the question was whether or not 24 was the number used for the class sizes, and that is correct.
You mentioned earlier about the smart climate control system and the window opening could go up. So is that to say that the building will be climate controlled throughout the year, and some of the issues that we're having with, both frigid temperatures and high temperatures as we get into the summer will be around again?
So the question is about the climate control system.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the system is very smart. So not only will you be able to manage every part of the building, every room, but you'll be able to do it from your home. You'll be able to do it from a phone. Whoever has access to log into that. It's a web-based so that you can actually log in and, for instance, go in and turn off all the lights in the school. They all have occupancy sensors on them, but you can do those have that flexibility from a building management system software. Everything can be managed remotely or within the school. And on top of that climate control, one thing I didn't mention is we model almost everything, every part of the building. We've actually evaluated the building envelope to find the optimized insulation on the walls, in the glass, on the roof. So we hit that sweet spot from a life cycle cost of what the initial cost is to what the long-term cost of maintaining it from an energy standpoint to really have that perfect cost-effective solution for the school, which will be completely insulated and everything will be thermally broken. Very different than your current situation.
Can I ask a quick follow-up?
Yep.
Given the smart, so you're working with IT and cyber security officials for that security so it can't be infiltrated from the outside. That seemed to be there was an article on cyber security with the smart system.
The question is about cybersecurity of the smart system.
I can't tell you about it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean we've already started discussions with OIT here, and it'll be a computer that houses the software, and then they can remote into it, but they have to have access through the firewall, which would be like anything else in your building that would have as far as a firewall, that probably the latest technology Jonathan will get from OIT, and making sure that the school is protected. And there's even, as I mentioned, additional protocols to limit the ability to even hack into the security system especially.
We're going to do everything we can to defend ourselves against the Russians.
Yeah.
So the question was about the roof and the problems that we as a city have had historically with roofs. So why do we think that this roof is going to be the one that works? Yeah, so specifically about warranties. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So the roof that we're putting on this building is a PVC roof. So it has a huge lifespan to it. It's obviously going to be installed by a certified contractor. As part of the warranty, it's going to be a 30-year warranty for the building to maintain that roof if it does leak, et cetera. And I say that because manufacturers will put their warranty at what they know they can guarantee. This type of roof has been on, that we're specifying, has been on buildings for 50 years, 80 years that they have example. The first roof that they ever put this on still has that roof on it. So it's a very high efficiency, high-end roof that we're going to be putting on this, so that hopefully, and if anything does happen, it'll be addressed as part of the warranty. We will be doing units, but there's a commissioning agent that reviews everything, makes sure everything works from a smart standpoint, HVAC systems, etc. And as part of that, they actually will be doing an infrared scan of the whole building to make sure the building's all thermally tight. And as part of that, you can see weak spots, and you can find those areas that are hidden behind the walls that you never know are there.
Just as a follow-up, you know, we do have roof problems at both Brennan and Wamsutta, which, given their age, you know, shouldn't be the case. And as we try to address those problems, it's become very clear to us that those roofs were not installed properly. And part of, you know, when we were considering this project as a community, a lot of people ask, you know, why is it so expensive to build a building? And part of it is that through the new process that the NSBA uses, you know, they don't let us cut corners. They don't let us do things on the cheap. They no longer allow communities to make the kind of decisions that leave us in the situation that we were left in with some of our schools that we currently have. So I think that that's an important point, because it is an ongoing concern across the district and the city.
I know the answer to the question, but from the public's point of view, why do we continue to build buildings with flat roofs in New England?
Okay, so the question is, why do we keep building flat roofs in New England?
Why not? No, the reality is a flat roof with the steel structure, with these white roofs, the snow doesn't stay on them for very long. And with the white PVC roofs, it's basically, if you think about a PVC pipe that they're welding together, that these roofs are a much better long-term solution than an asphalt shingle roof or a sloped roof, just from that standpoint, that they're actually better long-term, and they're more cost-effective from a space-wise, because then if you put a pitched roof in, you're heating a lot of area that isn't used, and those kind of things. So there's a lot of key factors of why flat roofs are used more frequently these days.
Yeah, and a building of the size, right, the volume of the pitch is I mean, enormous, right? And then we'd be heating that space. Other questions? All right, so opening up to the public, yes.
Is there no swimming pool in that facility?
The question is about the swimming pool.
No, there is not a new swimming pool in the new school. As part of the MSBA standards, any new school that MSBA participates in is not allowed to have a pool in it, because they're always looking at the educational value of a building, and they've deemed that there's no true educational value to a swimming pool at the price point that it exists. So if you built any community wanted to build a new school today, wouldn't be able to build a pool in it.
So how does the school system intend to support that program?
So the question is how the school system intends to support that program. We are already in discussions with community partners about trying to address the long-term viability of our programs. We are committed to maintain our swimming program, and so we hope that we'll be able to find a way to continue that, because a community of this size certainly needs a pool, and we're not the only ones who use our pool and need it as well. So, you know, hopefully we can find a solution before we get to that point. We're going to be losing the pool, as you saw, before we even move into the new building that spring. So we have a pretty short timeline to figure that out, but that is something we are currently working on. Please.
So I saw one gymnasium. Now I know here we have two gymnasiums, and one of the gymnasiums, I believe, pretty much supports the gymnastics program. So how do we intend on supporting that?
So the question is about the fact that we have two gymnasiums in the current school, and we only have one. I'm going to let Mr. Rooney tackle this one.
As a part of the design, we looked at the number of instructional spaces that our current gymnasiums offer to us. And if you take the large gymnasium, it is partitioned. So that's technically 2 instructional spaces. And then the small gymnasium gives us a 3rd instructional space. And again, from the MSBA standpoint, to be able to participate in that program and get the significant reimbursement that we get, as Craig mentioned in reference to the answer about the pool, everything is driven by educational value. And so while our extracurricular activities like gymnastics, basketball, baseball, those types of things do factor in, the new gymnasium will have the ability through subdividing. We'll have actually 4 instructional spaces, so we will gain 1 more instructional space with the new gymnasium. As far as your specific question about the sustainability of our gymnastics program, 2 seasons ago, we partnered with Butler's Gymnastics, who has a gymnasium designed specifically for gymnastics down near the hospital. And so there has been no active practice or competition of gymnastics on this campus for the last 2 seasons.
Other questions we can answer this evening? Okay, well, if that's the case, then I want to thank everyone for coming. I really appreciate your time this evening, and at this time I need to turn it back over to our community leaders to close out their meetings.